Hello everyone! In today's video, I'm going to be completing the 1/24 scale Menace to Society 92 Mustang Lowrider build. For those not familiar with this build, you can check out the playlist linked below in the description, which contains the first two parts of this build series. In the first video, I built the chassis and modified the Revell model kit to fit on top, and in the second video, I painted all the parts. Today, I'll be adding the final details, assembling the car, and doing some driving. If you'd like to do a similar build yourself, be sure to check out the description below this video for links and more information. With that said, let's dive back into this build. So as you can see, I've got the body painted green and have given the paint plenty of time to dry. The paint doesn't look too bad at this stage, but there are some imperfections and orange peel, so I decided to wet sand the paint before applying the clear coat. This is a bit tedious and you need to be careful not to sand through the paint. Also, the paint is going to look worse before it gets better. I'm only focusing on large or flat areas where the orange peel would be most noticeable. I did use some polish as well, which I thoroughly washed off before applying the clear coat. Before I applied the clear coat, there were a few details that I wanted to paint first. Those being the blue oval emblems and the 5.0 badges. Unfortunately, this kit does not include factory-style decals for these emblems. While I had the blue out, I also painted the emblem on the steering wheel. They turned out nice enough, so I applied the clear coat. I'm using Rust-Oleum Gloss Clear. I gave the clear several days to fully cure, and the result turned out pretty nice. I did do a little hand polishing before thoroughly washing the body and began masking the lower section for the silver paint that I'll be applying. It was a little tricky in a few spots to mask, but I did the best I could. I really like the two-tone look these cars had. I carefully sprayed some silver paint around the bottom, making sure not to get any past the masking. The result turned out looking great. I next masked off this upper section, which I'll be painting flat black. This includes the trim around the doors and the windshield. To add some remaining details, I used a brush. These details included the door handles, door and trunk locks, cowl vent, windshield frame, and the inner fenders. The body is already looking better with these details added. I next carefully painted the headlight buckets chrome silver. Using the same chrome silver paint, I backed the lower fog lights and tail lights. I test fit the headlight lenses and figured out that I needed to paint the outer edge of the headlight buckets silver as well, so no green is visible through the headlights. I removed any imperfections from the headlight lenses, and then painted the outer sections using clear orange. As I mentioned in the last video, I wanted to wait to paint the seats because I wasn't sure if I was going to need to modify them so they'd fit. I didn't need to make any cuts, so I applied the same gray paint that I used for the rest of the interior. I already painted the soft top, but I also wanted to paint the convertible top boot so that the customer has a choice of which to have on the car. To help differentiate the windshield wipers from the cowl vent, I painted them semi-gloss black. By this time, the paint I applied to the lights was dry, so I could glue them to the body. After test fitting them, I used a black Sharpie marker to add a black edge around the outside. I also wanted to add the rear license plate holder, which I sanded and painted flat black. I used micro crystal clear glue, which dries clear so it won't be visible underneath the lenses. I used the same glue to secure the windshield and back window. The paint on the rear license plate holder was dry, so I could add the license plate decal to it and mount it to the car. After that, I glued all of the parts that go on the trunk. Next, I glued on these little scoop things that go on the lower trim. Once those were on, I wanted to add the rear view mirror. I painted everything except the mirror flat black, as you can see here. I also assembled the side view mirrors and glued them to the body. With the body pretty much completed at this stage, I moved on to adding details to the interior. I'm always glad to see a kit included an instrument cluster decal as this one does, so I slid it onto the dash. I also hand painted some flat black details using a brush and using reference material as a guide. After that, I glued each piece to the interior tub. I'm really happy with how the interior turned out, as it has some nice detail. The Revell included the older style no airbag steering wheel, which I don't believe is correct for a 92 model year Mustang. After test fitting the body and interior on the chassis, I noticed that I needed to slide the interior slightly more forward so the wheels line up better in the wheel wells. After fixing this, I glued the interior to the body. The car is really coming together nicely. I figured now was a good time to swap the placeholder wheels for the painted ones. Again, at this stage, the car was looking great. One thing I wanted to address though was the red wires and white body mounts being visible under the car. The FPU C1 chassis sits very low, which is great for fitting a full depth interior, but on this car, there's a lot visible on either side. To help with this, I painted some of the wires and body mounts flat black. In addition to that, I wanted to add some tailpipes to the car. I painted the ends of the exhaust that came with the kit and then glued each to the body. Very simple, but adds just a little bit of extra detail. The wheels I have on the car right now are great for functionality and ease of service, but lack a knockoff spinner like a full-size wire wheel would have. To present an alternative to the customer for static display purposes, I modified the wire wheels that were included with the kit to fit the car. Not only do they look awesome, but they extend further beyond the body like on the movie car. Although you could glue the wheels on permanently like I did with the Challenger I built a while back, I prefer to have the car more serviceable with easily removable wheels, especially for a commission build. I think having these set up as static display wheels is a nice compromise. There's just one last thing to do. I wanted to cover this hole in the rear seat, which I needed to make for the gears. Keeping with the theme, we decided a nice big boombox would look pretty cool in the back seat. I needed to make this boombox quite large to cover the opening, but I don't think it's too crazy big to the point of looking out of place. I designed it using Autodesk Fusion 360 and printed it using an SLA 3D printer. I hand-painted it black with some silver details. I will be posting the STL file for this boombox on Patreon for anyone who's interested in printing one. We might add it to our shop as well. If anyone is interested in ordering one, please feel free to send us a message. It turned out looking pretty good, so I glued it to the back seat. It's definitely much better than having a random hole in the back, that's for sure. At this point the car is complete, and man, it turned out awesome. I'm a big fan of the Fox body Mustangs, so this build was especially fun to do. Although I'm not sure if green would be my first choice for one of these cars, the more I look at it, the more I like it. It's also a notable build for me personally, as this is the first full-depth interior convertible that I've built. Of course, looks is just part of the equation. I had to find out how it drives, and the answer is great. Nothing really too special, it turns sharp and is pretty quick if you really give it some throttle. Obviously this car is more of a cruiser than a race car, but regardless, it's fun to blast around the track. Of course I don't want to hoon this car around too much, as this is a commission build and I don't want to wreck that awesome looking body. So I'm going to wrap this video up right here. An all-around awesome build that I really enjoyed making, and I hope you all enjoyed watching. Don't forget to check out the links below in the description if you'd like to do a similar build, and if you want to help support this channel and get yourself access to exclusive perks, as well as make more content like this possible, consider becoming a member on Patreon linked below, or a channel member by clicking the join button. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.